Okay, so today let's talk about a really important widget, and that is the column widget. Okay, so all this while we were working with a single widget or maybe a parent and a child widget. So we were now making complete use of all this available space inside of the body, right? So in this column widget, we can pass in multiple widgets. Okay, it can be a container, it can be an image, it can be a text or any sort of widgets. Okay, so let's just see how that works. So let's just remove all of this code here and let's pass in the column. Okay, and let's also change the text to column. Okay, so inside of the column, like I said, it can take in multiple widgets, right? So it has a property called as children, which takes in a list of widgets. And inside of these children, inside of this children property, you can pass in all your other widgets that you want to put inside of the column. So we'll be working with containers and columns now, and keep in mind that after each widget you separate it with a comma or else it will run into an error. Okay, so let's also give this container a height of 200 and a width of 150. Let's also pass in a color. Let's give it a color of red accent. Okay, now we can just copy this container 3 times and let's just change the color to green and yellow. Okay, now we can see our containers are aligned towards the left of the screen, right? So one difference that you observed is after the height of 200, our next container starts at the very bottom of the first container, right? So it is like a continuous arrangement. The next thing that you have to know is our containers have two axes. So one is the main axis and the other one is the cross axis. So the main axis generally represent the vertical direction. So notice that I give the column main axis alignment, and let's pass in a main axis alignment. And notice when I pass in these properties, these containers just shift. Okay, now imagine I pass in a center. You can see that our containers are stacked up towards the center. Okay, so one thing to notice is these containers actually move in the vertical direction, right? They're not actually shifting the center position. Like they're not coming into the real center, or nor are they moving into the horizontal axis. That is because one of the axes is supposed to control the vertical direction and the other axis is supposed to control the horizontal direction. So the main axis for the column is always in the vertical direction and the cross axis for the column is in the horizontal direction. Okay, so let me just pass in a cross axis and let me just set it a cross axis alignment. So now we can see these columns, these cross axis also has different values, and we have actually seen all of this, the center in the end. Let's pass in something different and let's just see what happens. Okay, now we can see our containers are actually stretched out from one end to the other. Okay, let's keep this to the start itself. Let's just save it. Okay, imagine I want another container. Okay, so let me just copy and paste this container and let me give it a blue color. Okay, notice this app runs into an error. That is because we have given this container a fixed height of 200. So each container takes a fixed height of 200. And since our body does not have that much space, the app runs into a renderflex overflow error. Okay, so to overcome that error, we can wrap our containers with something called as an expanded widget. Okay, we can wrap each of these containers with an expanded widget. and let's see what happens. And the last one. Okay, let's just save that. And now we can see each of our containers take up equal space inside of the screen, right? Now we have no sorts of error. And we have another property inside of the expanded. That is, in case you want a particular container to take more space than the other, we can give it a flex property. So let me pass in a flex of 5, and let me give this a flex of 2, and let's see what happens. Okay, so notice how the red container has a lot more space than the other 3, and the green container has 2 spaces. So this is what the flex property actually does. So this is like a ratio. So the red takes up 5 space, green takes up 2, and the other 2 take up 1 space. So it's like a 5:2:1:1 ratio. Okay, so I hope you guys understood the concept, and I hope you guys understood the 2 new widgets I taught. If you guys have any sorts of doubts, please do mention them in the comments, and I'll catch you up in the next video.